Hey, hi, it's me. um, First of all, it's been a banner day. I took a shower and by myself, which is the best. Showers are a lot less pleasant when kids try to get in there with you. And I'm wearing my favorite dress. It's got cats wearing glasses, which is basically me. And I'm out of my house. I'm going out to get some essentials. I haven't been out since Monday night when I did like an insane stressful grocery run right before the governor said, or right after the governor said that they were shutting a lot of stuff down. So it was like horrible. It was like the zombie quarantine grocery run. It was terrible. Yeah, and I get to drop some stuff off at a friend's place, like on their porch, and just the fact of doing that like makes me feel so much better. Theodore straight up karate chopped me in the face today because he is so bored. And I know he has big feelings too, but I would love to not be assaulted by a 4-year-old. Oh my god. So I'm feeling punchy. I was thinking that what I would do is talk a little bit about performative parenting. I always have a bone to pick with performative parenting. I have an almost 5-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, and when I got pregnant, we moved to Seattle. So I'm from Virginia, where it's a completely different parenting scape. People spank their kids. People will say in the middle of the store, "I'm gonna beat you if you don't stop that." They typically don't mean it. But, like, I remember as a kid having strangers in the store, like, tell me to knock something off, where, I don't know, it's just really different. I'm not saying better, I'm saying different. Compared to Seattle, where, people never talk about discipline or spanking or kind of any of it. And there's, I think, an intense pressure to parent in a very specific way that's really informed by attachment parenting. And that is very, in general, I think it's really good for kids, but I think that it's very stressful for parents because it really puts parents on thin ice kind of all the time. It's that you need to give your kids organic food and no screen time and this really high level of enrichment. And it's also because we're in an enclave of people who are really privileged. It's my neighborhood is almost completely white, college educated, upper middle class people, which is not the neighborhood I came from, like, at all. So it's really different. Like, if I'm the first person in my family to go to college, so like when you compare that to people who are like third generation and who have this accumulated wealth and accumulated knowledge, it's a totally different ballgame, like in your entire life. But let me stay on track. Something that I think is a real issue in general is the feeling that as parents you're not doing well enough and that you really are, the feeling of being watched or being judged. And I think that it comes from a couple of different places. I think, one, people are having much smaller families now, and people are more mobile. So we aren't living in community the way we were even 25 years ago. It used to be, and let alone like before the 70s when there wasn't birth control, like hormonal birth control and stuff, when everybody had kids, whether or not they wanted them, everybody knew children, everybody had kids in their lives. So people had a much greater understanding of what children were like. It was very unlikely that you would have a kid, but you would have never held a baby before. You know, you would have held your brothers and sisters and your nieces and nephews because there were just always kids around because nobody had birth control. That's obviously not what it's like now. My husband had never held a baby before I met him, and our baby was like the third baby he ever held. He comes from a middle-class family that was college educated on the West Coast. I come from real spunky trailer trash. On the East Coast, my parents were both very poor when they were young, and they clawed their way up to the middle class. But I had just a big, juicy family. We all lived in the same town. So there were always people there. There were always kids, and there were always old people. So as like a young child, I remember holding my cousins and changing their diapers and being with them. And I also remember helping take care of my grandmother, who was in a wheelchair and who was bedridden. And in kind of the community that I come from, we lived there forever. So if you needed something, you just asked your neighbor. I knew all of my neighbors, and I would walk over and get stuff that I needed. And the same for them, where the hospital bed my grandmother used has been passed around, I think, to like 4 families in my mom's neighborhood. And my grandmother died in like 2002. That hospital bed is still kicking. My dad's wheelchair, and he died in 2012, is still out in our neighborhood because everybody knows each other. So, if you are a parent right now, you may feel that you are being judged by other people. You probably are. That is not your problem. As long as your children are safe, emotionally, physically, the whole thing, you're doing fine. Because I'm seeing people talking about like enriching experiences for the kids and different stuff like that. And my country ass is here to tell you that if your kids just lay on the floor and roll around for the entire quarantine, you are still a good mom. You are still a good dad. It doesn't fucking matter. They don't have to watch, I don't know, the NASA live streams. They don't need to finish the workbook packets that got sent home from school. If they're high schoolers, that's a good idea. But like, you don't have to do any of this. It doesn't matter. What matters right now is that your children feel safe and secure, and that their physical needs are met. They need to be getting enough sleep, so having regular bedtimes. They need to bathe regularly. They need to be fed and watered. And they need to be safe, and their emotional needs really need to be met far more than their educational needs. The educational needs, fuck it, it doesn't matter right now. What does matter is that they know they are safe and they are loved. People will often tell the kids too much, especially for like elementary age and younger, because they don't want to be dishonest to their kids. I would suggest that children need to be met at their developmental level. And when children are really young, preschool and elementary, most of them do not need to hear from their parents any version of, maybe we're all gonna die. There's nothing good in there for most kids. If your 4-year-old looks at you and says, are we okay? Are we gonna be safe? An excellent answer is yes. We're doing everything right and we're gonna be okay. Kids are smart enough that if something does change, they can roll with it, and you can say, you know what? Something changed, we didn't expect it. But don't feel the need to like explain to your children how scary and dangerous things feel right now. They don't need it. And yeah, if your kids ask if you're gonna die, tell them no. Tell them no. They don't need that. You don't need that. Nobody needs it. I'm sure some people will disagree with me. This is only my opinion. And I wouldn't have that conversation, obviously, with like a 13-year-old, an 18-year-old. Those kids you can talk to because they have a higher cognitive function. But if you have little kids, like most of my friends do, and if you're watching this and you have kids, yeah, that's what you got. Like, no. Tell them it's fine. If you see people on social media kind of stunting and talking about how great it is and how their kids did whatever, remember that they're not showing you the absolute meltdowns. I have a policy that I don't post media of my kids naked, obviously, but like in diapers or like anything that would be embarrassing to them later. I don't post pictures of them crying, having meltdowns, or scared. And so, like, if like the kid is in Santa's lap screaming or something, I personally do not post those. I want my kids to be able to consent for their electronic footprint when they're older. And I don't ever want to put stuff out there that would really embarrass them. I can privately say it to my friends, but I don't think that's for Facebook or Instagram. But because people don't post that stuff, people think it doesn't exist. That is not accurate. Everyone's kids are being sweet and charming and adorable, and sometimes being shitheads, because we all are. This is just so hard. So if your kid karate chops you in the neck, again, as happened to me today, try to brush it off. Tell your friends about it. Post the fact that it happened on Facebook if you want to. Don't post a video of it shaming your kid. That's bad parenting. But yeah, like, we're in a place to all be compassionate with each other. And especially if your kid has special needs, if your child has sensory issues, is autistic, developmental delays, whatever, and they don't want to do something, how could you possibly deal with that as well at this point? One of my friends, it actually makes me really upset. One of my friends has a little girl who is autistic, who only eats specific foods because of her sensory issues. This is a really common thing with autism. She posted on her Facebook, saying, "I cannot find this special food. If you see this special food, let me know." And someone had the gall to say, well, if she's hungry, she'll eat. Fucking false. Read a book. If a child has sensory issues, they're not going to fucking do it. So, if you see somebody talking about how their autistic child or another child with special needs is struggling in this time and they can't find their accommodations, be cool. Be nice. If you have that food in your fridge, give it to them. That parent's life is already so complicated, and they are always doing their best. They're heroes. So, I could just cry. It makes me so mad. So yeah. Don't be dicks to each other. I'm sorry, this one's passionate. I haven't been outside in a while. I'm feeling alive. Apparently, the sun activates me. Who knew? Yeah, let's just try to be kind to each other and to ourselves when it comes in relation to the children, because the kids are way out of their depths right now, and so are the parents, especially if they have little kids. I mean, my kids have no idea what's going on, and they haven't been out of our house in a week. Can you imagine being 2 and staying in the house all day? And my God, my 5-year-old, like, he'd go to a barn opening. Like, you say you want to go to Kmart, and he puts his shoes on. He is ready. So, yeah. If you hear kids being ridiculous or whatever, but they're safe, just let it fly. This isn't going to last long. Don't make mortal enemies of your neighbors. Don't embarrass somebody in the middle of the store. It's not worth it. Be cool. I'm begging you. And if people don't understand what's going on with your kid, please try to remember the point that I meandered around earlier. We don't live in community anymore. A lot of people, if they don't like kids, they've been able to self-select completely out of children, which is their right, and for a lot of people, a great choice. But if somebody gives you shit, like, try to just brush it off, because it doesn't matter. If you're doing your very best, and I know you are, like, if you're listening to this and if you're still with me, you are doing everything that you can. You are being an awesome parent. So, all right. I hope you got something out of that. I love this because I get to talk to my friends and I miss you. God, I miss everybody. This won't last forever. Be safe, be careful. Hopefully you don't get karate chopped in the face. It's my wish for you, my dream. If I see a shooting star tonight, I'm gonna say, I hope that no one else gets karate chopped in the neck or the face today. Alright, I'm out. I'm gonna enjoy sitting in my car in the sun. Bye.